Welcome to the Full Moon Film Buff, episode 179, actually. We're going to discuss Dark Moon Rising, released in 2009. I watched this on YouTube. I had not seen this before. As always, we start with the prominent crew and cast. You can find links to a more complete credit list in the show notes. The film was directed by Dana Mene, written by Dana Mene and Ian Cook. The creature designers were George Alahoussis, Raoulis Alahoussis, billed as Argyro, I can't pronounce that first name, Argyrios Raoulis Alahoussis, and Nicholas Dresios as Nikos Dresios. This is the only film Dana Mene and Ian Cook ever did. George and Raoulis Alahoussis have worked professionally as a team for nearly 3 decades. Based in Greece, the self-taught brothers specialize in prosthetics, animatronics, masks, bodysuits, props, and visual effects for film, television, and commercial productions. The Alahoussis brothers are known for their work on Dogtooth, The Other Me, and Chinatown, The Three Shelters. They joined a team of nearly 70 special effects artists on Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Another notable project was their contributions to the opening ceremonies of the Athens 2004 Olympic Games. Nikolaos Dresios is a special effects artist and sculptor based in Greece. The cast includes Max Ryan as Bender, aka Darkman, Maria Conchita Alonso as Sheriff Sam Pantoja, Chris Mulkey as John, Chris DiVecchio as Dan in Dan's Creature, Sid Haig as Crazy Lewis, and Billy Drago as Thibodeau. Max Ryan was a motocross racer before turning to acting. He landed a role in the Jet Li action film Kiss of the Dragon. This performance led to other opportunities, including the main villain in The Foreigner, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Death Race, and a supporting role in Sex and the City 2. Ryan built a career specializing in action films and villain roles, working alongside some of Hollywood's biggest action stars. Maria Conchita Alonso was crowned Miss Teenager World in 1971 and became first runner-up at Miss Venezuela 1975. She became a popular actress in Latin America, appearing in telenovelas and Venezuelan films. She earned 3 Grammy Award nominations in the Spanish-speaking market. In 1982, she emigrated to the United States and made her Hollywood film debut in Moscow on the Hudson. Her notable film credits include The Running Man, Colors, Predator 2, and House of the Spirits. Chris Mulkey is an actor, writer, director, and blues musician with an extensive career spanning 4 decades in film, TV, and theater. Notable film credits include First Blood, 48 Hours, The Fan, Cloverfield, Captain Phillips, The Purge, and Whiplash. On television, he's best known for playing the supporting role of husband to Annie Potts' character in Any Day Now, and appearing on the cult series Twin Peaks. Other TV credits include recurring roles in Boardwalk Empire, Friday Night Lights, 24, and Castle Rock. Beyond acting, Mulkey is also a songwriter with original songs featured in films and television, and performs with his band, Chris Mulkey and Deluxe. Chris DiVecchio had a short acting career. He is best known for this role and appearances in Faded Dreams and Touching Down. Sid Haig is an icon of horror cinema and blaxploitation films. He appeared in 150 movies and television shows throughout his career, including notable appearances in the original Star Trek, Batman, The Rockford Files, and Charlie's Angels. In the 70s, Haig was known for his work in director Jack Hill's blaxploitation films, frequently appearing opposite Pam Grier in movies like Coffee, Foxy Brown, and Black Mama, White Mama. He temporarily retired from acting in '92. His career was revived when he appeared in Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown. He starred in Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses as Captain Spaulding, a psychotic clown who became a modern horror icon. For his reprisal of the role in The Devil's Rejects, he received Fangoria Chainsaw Award for Best Actor and was inducted into Fangoria's Horror Hall of Fame. He also appeared in Kill Bill Volume 2. Billy Burrows adopted his grandmother's maiden name, Drago, as his stage name to avoid confusion with another actor. After working as a Kansas stuntman, he hosted a highly rated radio program before beginning his acting career in the late 70s with guest roles on television series. Drago is best known for playing henchman Frank Nitti in Brian De Palma's The Untouchables. Other notable film credits include Pale Rider, The Hills Have Eyes, and Tremors 4, The Legend Begins. On TV, he used his reptilian stare to play the demon Barbas across 5 seasons of Charmed. His distinctive appearance, deep voice, slender frame, and prominent cheekbones made him a Hollywood go-to actor for menacing antagonists. You know what the best part of most bad movies is? They're usually short. Not this stinker. Dark Moon Rising is a bloated 2 hours plus werewolf romance that feels like it needed another pass through the editing room. The runtime is excessive for a straightforward story. The special effects are disappointing with brief CGI morph transformations. However, there are a few redeeming qualities. The werewolf makeup is almost okay, resembling the classic hybrid look, but without the craftsmanship. The supporting cast of genre veterans, including Billy Drago, Sid Haig, and Maria Conchita Alonso, elevates the material. And the film commits to keeping its werewolves as genuine threats rather than misunderstood creatures. Gore is present when it needs to be, and there's an earnestness to the production that is somewhat endearing. My recommendation, only extreme diehard lycanthrope fans or those interested in seeing how the post-Twilight era influenced lower-budget horror should bother. Casual viewers are going to want to skip this one. The film was released about a year after Twilight, placing it firmly in the wake of the unstoppable cultural juggernaut. And according to my teenage daughter, the influence on this film is unmistakable, which means that the time it's upon me. I'm going to have to watch Twilight soon and discuss its impact. Interestingly, horror icon Dee Wallace reportedly worked on the script with Dana Meni for over a year and was originally cast in the role of Sheriff Sam. However, Meni replaced Wallace with Maria Conchita Alonso at the last minute, a decision that reportedly caused some controversy. So now let's talk about the synopsis. Bad boy drifter Dan blows into Paw Rump, Nevada. Amy is an overprotected teenager living with her widower father, John. Her friends encourage her to approach Dan. Despite his initial coldness, Dan eventually drives Amy home, and a romance quickly develops. We spend a lot of scenes watching the relationship blossom. A dark man is moving southwest, leaving a trail of brutally murdered victims in his wake. Seriously, he kills a lot of men and women in this movie. Finally, John and Sheriff Sam Pantoja do some awkward middle-aged flirting. What Amy doesn't know is that Dan carries a dark secret. He's cursed to transform into a werewolf during the full moon. The Dark Man is Dan's father, Bender, whom Dan has never met, and he's also a werewolf. Unlike his son, he's a psychopath who enjoys violence and has no interest in controlling his curse. When Crazy Louie's dog and horses are killed, Sheriff Sam investigates. Dan bluntly reveals his secret to Amy. He chains himself up in the desert to prove it, though he immediately breaks free of the chains upon transformation. He doesn't end up harming Amy, which gives the pair hope. When Amy doesn't come home, John joins Sam's investigation. Amy and Dan visit a psychic who confirms Dan's curse and reveals that the only way to break the curse is to kill his father before he kills a human. Bender finally shows up in Paw Rump and kills the psychic. Oh, and some prostitutes. Ex-cop Charles Thibodeau shows up out of the blue to offer Sam and John info on Bender. Years ago, Thibodeau arrested Bender, but the werewolf escaped and brutally murdered Thibodeau's wife in revenge. He's been hunting Bender ever since. Bender threatens, but does not kill Sam, for reasons I don't understand. He finds Dan and Amy for a little impromptu family reunion. Sam and Thibodeau figure out Dan is killing animals, while Bender's killing humans. When Bender kidnaps Amy, it brings all the players together. Dan, John, Sheriff Sam, Thibodeau, and even Crazy Louie show up for a final showdown in some local ruins. Lots of gunfire, but of course it comes down to father versus son in the end. Son wins. The film ends with Dan walking off into the sunset alone and shirtless, despite apparently fulfilling the conditions to break his curse. Why? The transformations are one major area where Dark Moon Rising falls flat. The transformations are brief and accomplished through simple morphing effects. There is no agonizing process, no special effects artistry. The werewolves use a traditional Wolfman-style approach with fur makeup and fangs, but the execution is poor and the costumes look exactly like what they are, costumes. Compared to even other low-budget werewolf films of this era, the effects in Dark Moon Rising are disappointing. The film seems aware of this limitation and keeps the transformations and full werewolf shots to a minimum, which is probably a wise choice, but ultimately unsatisfying for fans who have come to these movies to see the creature effects. Dark Moon Rising presents lycanthropy as a family curse passed from father to son. The film establishes that the curse can only be broken by killing the patriarch who carries it. Additionally, there is no indication that the curse can be passed on through non-genetic means. The transformations are triggered by the full moon, adhering to traditional werewolf mythology, although there is no mention of silver weapons. Interestingly, the film maintains that werewolves in their beast form are truly monstrous and dangerous and never attempts to humanize them or make them sympathetic while they're transformed. This is actually a point in the film's favor. It resists the urge to make its werewolves just misunderstood creatures and instead treats them as genuine threats. Dark Moon Rising tries to explore how trauma and violence transmit across generations, asking whether inherited cycles of harm can ultimately be broken or whether they perpetuate themselves regardless of individual will. Unfortunately, it fails to do so meaningfully. The film is structured around the central father-son relationship of Dan and Bender, using the werewolf curse as a metaphor for the ways violence, dysfunction, and damage pass from parent to child, except Bender was never in Dan's life, so the metaphor doesn't hold up. Dan is desperate to escape his father's legacy. Cursed through no fault of his own, he fights against becoming the monster. Dan's struggle is the struggle of anyone who raised in violence who must confront the possibility that they might unconsciously replicate it. Except he wasn't raised in violence. He bears responsibility for what he does under the curse's influence. Bender is the inverse. He rebels in the violence. He tracks Dan down to force his son to embrace the curse, to accept monstrosity as patrimony. But the film doesn't do anything with the setup. It spends far more time on the Dan and Amy romance. Shoot, it spends more time on the John and Sheriff Sam relationship. Dan spends most of the film unaware his biological father is the source of his curse, and Bender never tells anyone his motivation for traveling to Nevada. I'm not even certain that he's tracking Dan down, although that's an easy conclusion to jump to. The film's resolution complicates the theme. Bender's death supposedly breaks Dan's curse, presenting the notion that generational cycles end when the original trauma is destroyed. This offers a satisfying symbolic resolution: kill the source of violence and free the descendants. But you can't escape violence with more violence. Additionally, the film's ambiguous ending undermines this message, suggesting that even with Bender dead, Dan's curse, or something like it, persists. Dan doesn't get a happy ending. So, if you like lycanthropes, like, share, and subscribe. Contribute your thoughts and additional observations in the comments below. Let me know what I missed or what you noticed. Next, I plan to discuss Dire Wolf from 2009. Keep your eye on the moon, a silver bullet in the chamber, and we'll see you back here next episode.